Hello and welcome back to my Toronto Blue Jays series here on Out of the Park Baseball. So as you can see, 67 and 95, not exactly where we wanted to be. We were, 5 and 16 in extra inning games. However, when you take a look at our Pythagorean record, it was right about where it should be. So it really wasn't luck that made us bad. We were really just that bad. And you can see why. The defensive efficiency was dead last in the American League. Starters ERA was 14th and the bullpen ERA was 12th. Offensively, we weren't too bad. We were 7th in the league in terms of on-base plus slugging. So what that really tells me is in the offseason, we got to prioritize defense and pitching, certainly. And as you can see, we've got $16 million to play with. And that'll actually be about $26 million because I'm not going to re-sign Ken Giles or Aaron Sanchez, who will combined make about $10 million next year. They were just awful and can't really get anything for them in a trade, so just going to send them packing. Now, the depth that we are working with is really in the middle infield, and obviously we've talked about Guerrero and Bo Bichette, but Kevin Smith as well, who I don't think we've touched on, is really developing quite nicely. You can see both the head scout ratings and the OSA ratings really like him. This definitely looks like an above-average shortstop, 65 home run power potential. And then in addition to, I really like the looks of Cavan Biggio. He's kind of more of a utility guy. You can see he could really play any position if he wanted to. He just kind of needs the experience. He's also a captain, so good work ethic, good intelligence, good leadership as well. But I definitely kind of look at him as, our fourth infielder. He could basically play anywhere. If someone goes down with an injury, and of course, I also really like Rowdy Tellez. He didn't have a great year last year, but I think he will be better this upcoming year because I do really like the looks of those ratings. But with that in mind, I did actually make 3 trades before this episode started, and it was really to address the severe pitching problems that we have had. And I traded away basically our other middle infield depth, which I don't feel like we need because I want, the Cavan Biggios and the Kevin Smiths to really get their offensive playing time this year. The first trade that we made involved Devin Travis, and we sent him to the Philadelphia Phillies for David Robertson. Obviously, Travis, a pretty decent player, but he is kind of that depth role. I don't really think we're going to miss him too much if he's being replaced by Biggio, and we get a really elite relief pitcher. Obviously, he's making a decent amount of money. You can see $11 million next year and $12 million the year after. However, Philadelphia is nicely retaining 30% of that salary, and that second year is a team option with a $0 buyout. So if we feel like it's too expensive, we can always just bail. But, David Robertson is really an elite pitcher. So he'll be replacing Ken Giles in the bullpen. And then the second trade we made was with the Angels. We sent Gurriel to the Angels. And obviously Gurriel rated really well by our head scout. But I'm not really trusting our head scout. I'm actually going to be replacing him with a new head scout because his ratings just seem to be all over the place. I think Gurriel's ratings are much closer to the OSA ratings because if I take a look at his offensive numbers the last 2 years, they're kind of average, but they're not great, and he's certainly not going to make up for it with his defense. So I like Gurriel, but I think we just have too many people, in that middle infield role. And in return, we get Justin Anderson, who is a cost-controlled relief pitcher. You can see just over a year of service time there. And he's a pretty good, he'll be a pretty good bullpen piece. Certainly not a Robertson level, type of reliever, but still pretty good. And then we also get Andrew Heaney as well from the Angels, who gives up a lot of home runs. You can see that movement rating is at 40. But otherwise, I like his strikeout to walk ratio, and I'm certainly not expecting a 3.8 ERA from him, but if we can get something in the low 4s, I think that will be just fine. And then for our last trade, you can see this was the one where I think it was a bit of a stretch. We do get Eduardo Rodriguez, who I'm very high on. Again, very good strikeout to walk ratio like Heaney, but he does give up a lot of home runs. But I think a very good number 3 pitcher. I, again, don't expect him to have a 3.6 ERA, but something in the low 4s. And we do send to the Red Sox 2 of our players. The first is Freddie Galvis. I don't really care for Galvis. He's very good defensively. You can see he actually had a 3-win season last year, but I think I'm selling high on him. He's a ground ball hitter, not very good offensively. He's turning 30, so that defense and speed is only going to go down. And, in addition, he's never had a 3-win season in the past, so this just kind of seems like an anomaly. And not that I'm happy to see him go, but I'm okay letting him go. He also only has 1 more year of team control, whereas Rodriguez and Heaney have 2 more years. And then the last guy we gave up in this trade is Billy McKinney. I like McKinney. He's very cost-controlled, only just over a year of service time. but he hasn't really put it together at the major league level yet, so he still is kind of a prospect. And I could totally see him turning into a 2.5 win player, in which case I think we do lose this trade, but he's definitely not a guarantee to be that. He just hasn't been that yet. So until you see it, you don't really know. And we really needed the pitching. So with that said, if we take a look at our starting rotation now, we have Schumacher, Eduardo Rodriguez, Marcus Stroman, Andrew Heaney, and then we're going to have to figure out that fifth spot. It could be Sean Reed-Foley. It could also be Ryan Borucki, who I brought up at the end of the season. I think it's Borucki, actually. And he wasn't too great out of the starting rotation. He was amazing in the bullpen. I got to show you these splits. Yeah, as a starter, a 6 ERA. As a reliever, a 0.62 ERA. And it didn't seem like a whole lot of that was BABIP, so I'd be interested to see if he is going to be as dominant as he was as a reliever this year. So anyway, we do have a spot to upgrade in the rotation if we want to, and I think the other spot that we might want to upgrade potentially is left field. Obviously, we just gave away Billy McKinney, but we do have Teoscar Hernandez. I kind of see him as a backup role, but I mean, he could be our starter if really need be. I just don't think we're going to end up with him as our left fielder. Again, we've got too much money to not make an upgrade, both at the starting rotation and in left field. I mean, unless we find a superstar that we just can't give up, and that's who we give the $26 million to. And of course, I'm still keeping a lot of our money for scouting. You can see $12 million is going into scouting, and $17 million is going to player development. I just really like how these prospects are coming along, and I want to keep this player development budget relatively high. So anyway, I think that kind of catches you up with just at least our plan for the offseason. We should take a look just at how some of our other players did. So you can see Randal Grichuk did kind of fall towards the end of the season. A lot of people were saying, you should have traded him at the trade deadline. And I don't know if it's because I have the trading difficulty on hard, but I just couldn't really get a whole lot for Grichuk. So I just figured I'd rather keep him. He's only got one more year of team control, which kind of stinks. But if he has a good year, I really think that we might be able to get a draft pick compensation for him. So that's another thing I'm kind of thinking of as well. But I mean, you can see 230 strikeouts. I mean, I don't think he's ever going to hit 260 again, but we'll see. Guerrero, by the end of the year, he had a 4-win season. So, I mean, basically as promised, of course, you hope that he'll continue developing. But for a rookie season, that is just outstanding. And he seemed to be pretty capable of playing third base. If we take a look at the zone rating here, it was definitely below average, but nothing abysmal, so I'm happy to stick with that. He did have 19 errors, which is quite a bit. I'd kind of compare him to Rafael Devers in that way, I guess, where he's going to be a bit of a liability, but I'd still rather play him at third base, I think. Then, of course, there was Danny Jansen, who had a great rookie year as a catcher, 4-win player there. As we kind of go down this list, we already touched on Bichette. But really, it was Pilar that was kind of a down year for him. Maybe not even a down year. He's kind of had that same wins above replacement level in the past. But I don't know. I just expect him to kind of make a jump. I'm not saying a giant jump, but just something where he becomes a 2.5, maybe 3-win player. Because that defense is so good. He just needs to be okay at offense. If we do take a look at our player salaries, though, you can see that there's going to be a number of free agents next year. Marcus Stroman, Kevin Pillar, Grichuk is going to be another one. We're certainly not losing the core of our team, but it will be something that we have to figure out down the road. But with that said, let's take a look at some of our prospects here. Of course, some of these guys will be taking off soon because they're actually on the Major League roster. I especially wanted to check in on Nate Pearson, and this is part of the reason I'm not loving our scout. You can see the OSA ratings really much higher on Pearson than our head scout is. And that just seems to be a case with a lot of our prospects. And that doesn't necessarily mean our scout is wrong. I just sort of want to get a second opinion. I think Eric Pardino is another one that, it's like, wow, look at those OSA ratings. But the head scout just does not think he's going to be any good. So anyway, I think that mostly catches you guys up. We're just going to sim ahead probably through some of these awards. Okay, so we have simmed ahead a little bit. I did want to say we did get our new scouting director. I think he will be definitely an improvement, and over time we'll have to see what he thinks. I also realized I forgot just to take a look at the playoffs, so for anyone interested, the Los Angeles Dodgers finally won the World Series. They beat the Cleveland Indians, who again lost in 7 games in a World Series, so their drought continues. It's kind of funny, the Dodgers won it all. They only won 86 games, and the Indians won 109. That's not surprising given the division that they are in. And then when it comes to the awards, you can see in the American League, Jose Ramirez won the MVP. I've heard a lot of people say that his first season, he just puts up ridiculous numbers. I saw one guy had like a 13-win season with him. But anyway, he has a 9.3 WAR season. That's still very, very high. And in the National League, Christian Yelich repeats. He wins the MVP again. Kluber wins the Cy Young in the American League, and Scherzer wins it in the National League. No surprises there. Looks like we did not get any Silver Sluggers. Did we get any Gold Glove awards? No, we did not. So no awards for us, unfortunately. And then I did want to talk about the two guys who I'm not re-signing. That's Sanchez and Giles. So they both have just one more year of team control left. Sanchez especially, I think he had 9 injuries during the course of the season that just cut all of his starts short. He is labeled as fragile, but I mean, 22 games started, only 91 innings pitched. That is truly bad. And so I just didn't want to sign him for $4 million. I just didn't think it was worth it, even if there is a little bit of upside there. And the same thing really with Giles. I think I would have had to pay him about $8 million. And he's just not worth it. I mean, he just gave up so many home runs last year, didn't have a great year the year before. I don't think there's much upside there, to be honest, although he is intriguing. Okay, we have simmed ahead to free agency. Let's see if there are any international free agents that are worth looking at here. Yeah, so there is this left fielder who looks pretty good. I mean, I definitely like his offensive numbers. We do need a left fielder. Let's see what he's kind of looking for. $6 million. I mean, I would think about it. We'll definitely keep an eye on him. The other guy I saw was this first baseman who is young. You can see 24 years old. Again, I definitely do like the looks of his potential abilities. It's our head scout who especially likes him. Not a lot of speed, obviously, not a lot of defense, but as a first baseman, that's not too big of a deal. Okay, so I was taking a closer look at this left fielder. Look at this guy's platoon splits. Oh my God. Unfortunately, that's kind of the wrong direction because Tellez obviously is also better against righties. What about Teoscar Hernandez, though? Yeah, he's also better against righties. That kind of stinks. Okay, so you can see that we have $31 million available for free agency. And there are some big names out there like Chris Sale. He's someone who definitely in real life does a lot better in the first half than the second half. I'm interested to see if that carries over to this game. No, he was really fine throughout, so that's someone who I would definitely think about. Certainly on the expensive side, so we wouldn't be able to afford much more than that. Then there is Goldschmidt, who I signed in my Royals series. I don't really know that we need someone like Goldschmidt. I mean, of course, we could always use another bat, but I don't know. I like the look of that left fielder just kind of as a cheap option with the bat. Then there is Verlander. I always kind of worry, at 36 years old. I don't know how long of a contract he's looking for, but yeah, I don't know, 5 years for someone who's 36, that just seems a bit steep. Whereas with Sale, I mean, it's definitely a longer deal. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 with a player option. But he is only 30. So anyway, I think I'm going to sim ahead a little bit. I'll just kind of see, how this free agent market is developing, and then we can go from there.